to stay.
Hello and welcome back to Beyond Boards, a podcast dedicated to the actions and interests of skaters beyond skateboarding. My guest today, Jan Kliewer, grew up and started skating in Göttingen, Germany in the late 80s. He moved to Berlin in his early 20s and started skating for the famous Lyon-based board brand Cliché as it was getting more and more international acclaim. In the following years, Jan got on the Globe Europe team, switched from Cliché to the Spanish brand Jart, and became a father. In the early 2010s, he slowly retired from pro skating and transitioned into journalism, becoming the German editor of European skate mag Kingpin. As the mag was slowly shutting down, Jan transitioned into his next project and joined forces with Yamato Living Ramps, which builds and designs original custom concrete skateparks all over Germany, where he's still working today. So here's my conversation with Jan. I hope you'll enjoy it. So I usually start with the same question, basic question with everybody, and just ask, my guest how he or she started skating. And so, can you tell me about maybe picking up your first board? I read somewhere that you were born in Hanover. Is that where you grew up?
No, I was born in Hanover, but moved to a town like an hour south from there pretty much straight away. And that's where I grew up. The town is called Göttingen. It's just a student town, university mainly. Not too much else going on, but it's been a nice place to grow up. And when I got into skating, there was like the city hall square or whatever, the plaza in front of the city hall that was pretty legit to skate for the time. Mm-hmm. And that's basically where I did a lot of my early skating, I would say. Not where I started. I started like by my house, like with a bunch of friends. And the local hero happened to come from like a couple streets away. And one day I saw him and like his friends skate a jump ramp or just skate down the hill or whatever. I don't know. I don't really remember even. But I was pretty blown away by that. And
do you remember how old you were?
Must have been, 8 or 9 or something.
Okay, so that's like mid 80s, around there? Mid to
late 80s, yeah.
Do you remember maybe like the first skate video that you watched or the first magazine that you got your hands on? But that must have come a bit later, I guess.
I still remember the first German monster magazine I had in my hands, and I still remember watching the first skate videos, but I never had like a VCR back then. Like my parents didn't want us to consume too much like TV and stuff, and they tried to at least long time ago, but it took me a long time to convince them to buy a VCR. But anyway, like the first skate videos I watched at a skate shop. There was like this one dude in my town that was popped up like selling boards from his trunk, and then later on he found a place somewhere to open a small skate shop, and then he moved to several different locations, but that we would always go there and hang out and watch his skate videos. And I spent my pocket money buying like 10 centimeter sheets of grip tape, like colored grip tape or stickers and stuff like that. So yeah.
And we'll talk about that later, I guess, but I know that you've been living in Berlin for quite a long time. I was just curious to know when you moved out there and what decided you to move to Berlin.
That's quite a while after. I grew up in that town, Göttingen, skated there a bunch. Until I was like, 20 or something, I would say. And then my girlfriend, I always kind of wanted to leave, but first I thought I'd move to Cologne because that was like a big place for German skateboarding at the time. Mm-hmm. But for some reason I didn't do that, and then my girlfriend went to a town called Bremen in the north of Germany to study, and at the time I had like my first sponsors, and some of them were located in Berlin, and also like a good friend of mine that I met quite a while before, but like an early influence, Lenny Burmeister.
Right.
Had moved to Berlin, and so I visited him and like this other guy, Robert Stoje, that had like a clothing company at the time that we both skated for. And I would crash on those guys' couch a lot, and I don't know, from there stayed longer and longer. And then at one point, a friend of mine that was living in Berlin told me he had like a vacant room in his apartment, and then I moved in, and then I just stayed.
Okay, so that was in your like early 20s then?
Yeah, like 2002 maybe or something. I don't know, around that time, like more or less 20 years ago.
So yeah, so you spent half of your life in Berlin, basically.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Somewhere around there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk more about Berlin later, but yeah, I want to ask you also about some of the sponsors you rode for and everything. But I just had a quick question before about basically the way you skate. I've always enjoyed your style of skating very much. I feel that you're like powerful on your board, but graceful with a good trick selection. And I'm sure that you've heard this from a lot of people. But I was wondering how important style was for you growing up. Like when you first started skating and in the first years of skating, how important was the way you skated to you? Or were you more focused on, you know, maybe trying more technical tricks and stuff? I just watched earlier today, I hadn't seen this part, but you skated in this video, I think it was called Limited from, I think 1996, around there.
Yeah, that was basically like a sponsor me tape, and then that got turned into a video part.
Okay. I was surprised by seeing that because I guess in that video you're probably like around 20 years old or something, or 19 or something. I recognized your style immediately, but you were doing also tricks that I hadn't seen you do before. Like I saw like a kickflip backside nose blend slide. I think you did a switch wall ride like in a line. Kind of tech tricks, like you did tech stuff afterwards, but in more recent times, of course, I've seen you do like more somewhat basic tricks, but like really executed well with lots of style and everything. So yeah, so basically my question is just about like how you developed your own style of skating and how important it was to you growing up.
I could give you a big answer, but it's basically, I grew up skating like with early influence from 80s. Like I grew up, or I started like as I said, in the jump ramp days, but I was like a small kid then. I really wasn't good at skating. I was always like afraid of falling, and I don't know. I was always like in my group of friends, there were others that were a lot better. And in those days, doing big grabs from the launch ramp was like the thing to do, or big bonelesses down whatever shit you find. And then a lot of the older guys kind of quit to get into Vespa mod culture or whatever, what was cool at the time, or techno music or whatever. And so we were like my generation all of a sudden was like the oldest guys basically. And,
yeah.
That was like early 90s, and like super high-tech skating was like the thing to do. And that was kind of where I matured into skating. So, I mean, we tried every new trick that came up that we saw in the video, you know, like that was like the thing to do. Like you see a trick, you try to learn it.
Right.
You do it once and then never again, but you do it until you make it once, you know, at least.
Sure.
But that was the style of skating in the early 90s. And so, yeah, I mean, I have to say I enjoyed that period of skating at the time. Looking back, it was quite shit. I mean, like, just, stupid pressure flips that you land like really shitty. And, but you were like, oh yeah, I flipped my board like 3 times. Wow. And it went further. And you did it like down 2 steps and landed really shitty with 2 kilometers per hour or something. But, so that was kind of fun for me at the time, at least. And I was like super into that kind of style because, yeah, as I said, I grew up at this plaza thing. And yeah, I mean, it totally fit into the landscape of skating at the time. And we didn't have a skate park anywhere near. Like the closest skate park I had really was in Hamburg. Like it was one of 2 or 3 indoor parks at the time in Germany. And we would even travel there like 4 hours one way and then back at night. And we would do that in summer holidays, like each day more or less, or like 4 weeks out of 6. But yeah, other than that, there was no skate parks really. And I didn't really fancy going there. Like I was like street skating, blah, blah. And so that's maybe why I have this background, I could say, of like
Tech skating?
Tech skating, but the older I grew, the maybe lazier I got, and the more I prefer to stay on my board and not step off and be economic in your skating or whatever, and
strategic,
and also appreciating like the simple form more, like just a basic frontside ollie or whatever, or slash grind or whatever. But that was like a long stretch of time compressed into the beginning and the end, basically. I mean, it's a fading of skill and growth of laziness, I would say, that got me to skate less technical. I wish I could still do it sometimes, but then again, these days I really prefer to do whatever. I mean,
just do something that feels good, or
basically. I mean, I could just cruise down the street and enjoy it. It doesn't need to be triple pressure flip. But I mean, I was definitely like, even like in the 90s, like really a fan of, I don't know, Peter Smolik or
that video of the storm. Did that come around that time, like early 90s?
Yeah, the storm was like, I preferred him more like in TSA video days. The storm, like Osiris or whatever, or Shorties, that was a bit later. I think he was a bit beyond his prime, maybe, or at least for the way I appreciated him. Or his skating, but
But you wanted to emulate kind of the way he skated in those first videos. Yeah?
Not necessarily emulate, but I respected, like, because he was, when I first was aware of him, he was like, one of the first guys that did like really technical stuff on higher ledges. This like early phase of tech skating was like really low to the ground and really shitty. Like not everyone, but most people. And Smolik was like in the mid 90s, doing like flip in, flip out, slide stuff with good style on higher ledges. So that was the difference. But I mean, like early 90s, there was like this East Coast thing that developed, like with the Eastern Exposure videos and
Wolf.
I think, it's probably like, as many people from my generation would say, the formative time, maybe like the, 95, 96 with like Mao's Toy Machine video. Welcome to Hell. FTC video, like the second one, Penal Code. All those videos that kind of like, I mean, it's like always a bit weird to say, but I mean, it's just my generation, I guess. And I keep that close to my heart, like all those videos and all that vibe and that era. And
I think a lot of people do. Even people like I started skating a bit later in 2000. So I didn't grow up watching like those videos you just mentioned, but I do appreciate them very, very much today.
I mean,
for what they are, I
was listening to your Farron Golding conversation, and it was funny to hear like him being like so into all the Alien Workshop stuff. I mean, like photosynthesis and stuff, I could totally relate. It's like a sick video, but like all the feelings he had towards those videos, I had to like public domain, Hocus Pocus, like Paul videos, like mid-generation Paul videos, early H Street videos and stuff. And like Plan B Questionable was like the video I watched probably the most. But it's funny to hear those stories, because it's mainly, it's probably like an age thing, or like, like you're really getting into skating, and then like the first impressions you get, and also like probably the age you're at the time. You're like, this makes such an impression on you that you soak it up like super crazy. And that was funny to hear, like
Farron talking about that.
Like him having like the very same feelings towards those videos, that for me, as watching them later with a lot of stuff I had watched before, it's a different impression those videos make. But it's cool because it's the same experience, like with a different generation,
Exactly, Probably skaters that start skating today, they get that same feeling with current videos, hopefully.
I don't know.
I don't know what they are, but...
I could totally imagine the generation now getting getting this sensation from or onto skating for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's in a different way because you have so much more, many ways of media content that you can consume skating. And I don't know, when I think back to my beginnings, it was like super rare to even find anything skateboard related, or as I said, watch a video. It was like I had to go to the skate shop and hang out there for, I don't know, hours and wait till the guy at the desk pops in the video, or have to ask him to do it and blah, blah, and or like, go out of my way to find magazines. And if I found a magazine, I'd, study it. Yeah,
exactly.
Learn it by heart or whatever. But I mean, every generation has their thing. I'm not going to say one's better than the other. It's just
no, for sure,
interesting, for sure. I mean, these days kids are insanely good. So that's it's amazing to see.
I wanted to ask you a bit about like your sponsors and about Cliché, obviously. And as I told you, I started skating in 2000, and the first video I ever watched was the first Cliché video, Europa. So Cliché had, of course, a big impact on me, and for the years to come, I bought a lot of Cliché boards and a lot of S shoes because of Vincent Bressol, who had the first part. So the marketing was very efficient on me, and I loved Cliché. It was a sick brand and everything. So I assume it wasn't your first sponsor. You must have gotten some sponsors before that. But like, how did it all start? Did you first get like maybe a shop sponsor, like a distribution kind of thing, or how did it all start for you?
I mean, I got into being sponsored pretty late because I never really did contests back in the day. And in Germany, that was like the main thing or the main way to attract sponsors. And I was never good at it back in the day because, as I said, we didn't have a skate park, and people that skated the contest usually, I couldn't do all the basic ramp stuff, basically. I could only do the street stuff, and I was really into trying shit and not, being consistent, thank you, at whatever contest routine you want to have. And also, like the dude that I said that had the shop in my town, he was like pretty bad at managing his shop, and I don't know, he moved from place to place and went out of business, and he never really sponsored anyone. So maybe I wasn't even good. When skating was big enough for him to support people, I think I wasn't good enough. And later he was out of business, and skating was really, really small back then too. So, my first sponsor was, I don't know, I went to the US on holiday, or basically with a bunch of friends. Like I worked, got a job, saved some money, and went to the US in 95. We flew to LA and then went to California. Like a friend of mine was staying in San Diego for a year on school exchange, and some friends from my town saved up money and visited him. But we also took like a road trip from San Diego to San Francisco, and I don't know, we bumped into some people at the Huntington Beach skate park, some American dudes that worked at the factory of ATM Click and New School at the time. And those guys, that was like a group of friends that came from the Midwest of the US and chased their dream of making it in skating or in life or whatever, moving from Midwest to California.
Right.
They went various ways, but it was like a community of dudes from a certain area in the Midwest. And we happened to meet those guys at the Huntington Beach Park and befriended them. And I ended up going back and forth from Germany visiting them. Like I went a year after in summer holidays, like 95 was like 1 year before I finished school. And then I went after I finished my last year of school. And then I went again and always stayed at those guys' place. And eventually that one guy that worked there at the skate factory, like he hooked me up with like a flow sponsorship through
for ATM Click.
ATM Click, and Arsenal was another brand they had at the time, and New School. So that was amazing. Like I'd never had so much skate stuff before that. So they even shipped stuff over here when I was back in Germany. But at one point I was back here in Germany, and there was this big contest like DC Euro Tour, like the first DC tour.
Uh-huh.
There was a big contest in Frankfurt, and my friend Lenny was riding for like the DC distribution at the time in Germany. There was like a invite-only contest, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you have to come into that contest," and blah blah. And so he got me in there, and I guess I skated okay in that contest, which by the way, Javier Sarmiento won with some amazing skating.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Even back then. And I ended up getting hooked up by the DC distribution then, and they were also offering to flow me boards from a distribution, I don't know, Mad Circle, I think at the time.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, I don't know, should I stay with the guys from the US or should I go for that option? But like with the whole complete package, I think I opted for that. Also, I was really close with Lenny.
It made more sense for you at the time?
Yeah, I went for that, and that was a really cool ride. Like they even paid us money, which was like a rare thing for local sponsors.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they set up like a European or like first a German or German-speaking DC team, which was kind of big, and at least in Germany at the time. And from there on, I think the Cliché guys, Jeremy and maybe Pontus or someone hit me up if I wanted to ride for them a little later, and that's how I got in contact with Cliché. Yeah.
So that was like, what, in 2001, 2, around there?
Yeah, 2001 was when I started riding for Cliché, yeah.
Okay. I interviewed Ben de Rennes a while ago, like almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah, I mean, Europa was 99, right?
I'm not sure if it's 99 or 2000, because I think it came out the same year as Menik Madi. Fred Mortagne was doing Menik Madi at the same time as Ben was working on Europa, and I believe Menik Madi was 2000. I don't know if it was the same year, it was around that, yeah.
I got on shortly after they
released the first video.
Yeah, exactly. That was amazing. I mean, like, at the time, like, they were, like, definitely the most...
legit Euro brand?
The most legit Euro brand. And, I mean, European scene was flourishing at the time, definitely, but they were, together with Blueprint, like, the people that took it to another level.
So you skated for Cliché for quite a while. You were, of course, part of one of their most famous videos, Bon Appétit, from French Fred. I think that came out in 2004. And I wanted to ask you just about that specific video, that part. You shared a part with JJ Rousseau from France. I was wondering if that was like a decision from Fred to have you share a part with him. And also, I just wanted to know if you had picked the song, because I thought it fitted your skating, particularly yours, very well. What do you remember about filming that video part?
Yeah, I mean, prior I had filmed with Ben a bunch of things, but like having Fred as like the person to produce or film the video and guide every one of us was like a big thing, Everyone respected Fred, and I mean, there was like a thing with Ben that he had left Cliché. You guys probably talked about that in this interview. But anyway, Ben wasn't with Cliché anymore, so for a minute we didn't really know what was to come, and then Jeremy and Al pulled Fred out of the hat basically, and that was amazing and a big push and motivation because he had just finished the Menik Madi and stuff. And
did you feel pressure of having him behind that project or not so much?
I mean, I wasn't like the youngest anymore. There were new people coming on. So I definitely felt pressure, skating for Cliché. Because, I mean, it's a funny topic because it's like a little shitty skate career that I had and still...
No, come on.
No, but like compared to like all the people in big sports that talk about pressure issues, but still, I mean, I'm jumping forward a little bit. Like I got let go from Cliché later, but I was kind of relieved at the same time that was done, because there definitely was pressure, and it was pretty much as soon as I went pro, basically. I remember like getting my first pro board, and that was like at a contest we had in my hometown. That was like a street contest at that plaza with all sorts of weird ramps. It was a pretty cool contest, but I had like my pro model, I just got it like a couple of days before. And like the weight of riding your own pro model, it was definitely something different. So riding that own pro model was definitely different because, I don't know, I always did skateboarding for the joy of skating or for enjoying myself, not for anything else really. And I felt at that moment that was kind of gone, you know.
There was some expectation on you now that you were pro?
I mean, probably just I put upon myself. And Jeremy, they were putting pressure on people, but I can totally see why. And I mean, it's like their money or like Jeremy's money that he invested in the company and blah. And he definitely needs, you know, to see money come back in and stuff, even though at the time I think he had sold it to Solomon.
Salomon, that's right. Yeah.
And then later that got sold to Dwindle, but that was after my time, I think. And but anyway, I mean, that's, as I said, going back, like that little bit of pressure I felt, I can only, you know, relate with that little bit to people in you know, I don't know, $1 million contracts or I don't know, Niger or whatever. Or it's crazy. It's a trip, but it's cool to having made that experience.
Having a pro board, did it become not as fun to skate all of a sudden, where you kind of just had this pressure and skating didn't feel as joyful as you said before?
Yeah, in a way, for sure. I mean, it's especially towards the end. I mean, for Bon Appétit, it was pressure, but like, in a cool way. I think I was hurt after Bon Appétit, and then, I don't know, it's a different story. But you asked how the filming for Bon Appétit came about and how that was. And I mean, we had some amazing travels. Like we went on this trip to Greece, for example. I think that was the first trip for Bon Appétit. I don't really remember. It might have been. Yeah. But, I mean, I remember that trip being super, super productive. Everybody like super stoked and naturally ripping, everyone giving, you know, their best and stuff.
Right.
And so that was fun working with Fred. Like he's also like not a person that, I don't know, forces you to do stuff. But if you motivate yourself, you know it's gonna look amazing, you know. And so it was definitely a lot of fun. But you asked if I had any say or any knowledge of how the video would come out or how my part would be. I mean, we had like some footage checking every now and then, but it was not very much. Like I didn't really know what I would see at the premiere. I remember I was like even a bit bummed when I first saw it because I thought, okay, I have footage for a part. It's not like a whole lot of footage, but I could see myself like having my own part and stuff. And then like seeing all the footage chopped up into, you know, the trips and just the, you know, shared part with JJ. I was like, it's a bit weird, but in the end I totally appreciated it. But I remember at first I was like, it's a bit weird. But I mean, it came out totally amazing. It wasn't
traditional at the time.
Exactly.
It was, like people had huge, not huge, but like big parts, and it was like sprinkled throughout the videos. It's a bit more.
When I went to the premiere, I expected like a more traditional, you know, structure of the video. And but I mean, it was amazing the way it turned out for sure.
And so, I don't know if you want to talk about that, but what happened with Cliché? Like, you said you were let go.
I mean, basically, from my understanding, I'm sure there's different versions of this story, but when Bon Appétit was done, it was distributed on VHS, but it was just in the time when DVD was becoming the more norm media. And so first they were like, okay, like in a year we're gonna release the video on DVD and everybody should film like 1 or 2 tricks for like a bonus section or something. So I tweaked my ankle or something like kind of bad, and I was out for like a month or 2 or maybe even longer. I don't really remember, but I was injured for a while, like in that year. And couldn't really skate. And then those guys were all like, okay, we're going on like a trip. Do you want to come? And I was like, no, I'd rather stay in Berlin and film here. And that's what I did. And in the end, they filmed like so much that they put out new parts, or some people, I think Charles and Lucas and Thibaut, I think was new. No, Thibaut was in Bon Appétit. I don't know. It was some new person that got introduced. introduced. Frank,
Okay.
maybe Franklin Stevens, not sure.
Oh,
but
yeah.
someone got on the team, and so they did like a whole bigger section. I didn't even have that much footage in the end.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think I had all right footage because most of that was what ended up in my Strongest of the Strange section later on. But yeah, I mean, then I think they did the Gypsy tour, and that was like the first tour I did after my injury or something. I don't know. I only did like 2 tricks on that tour, I think. Yeah, anyway, like long story short, I think they needed to make room for new people on the tour, and Jeremy probably thought I was kind of done or wanted people to produce more, or he saw the need for more output.
Right.
And
okay.
I didn't deliver, and yeah, then they let me go. I mean, it was a really big blow at first, but as I said, at the same time, it was a big relief too at the time. But yeah, it definitely sucked. I loved being part of that team, but yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I can totally understand, like, everyone.
Yeah, from a
involved.
business point of view, they needed productive skaters, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the end, like, I'm pretty stoked on, what Pontus ended up making out of the footage I had for that, and being part of that Strongest of the Strange.
I wanted
video.
to ask you about
because,
that.
I mean, yeah, Pontus had quit a little before me, even, I think.
Yeah, because he didn't have a part in Bon Appétit, right?
Yeah, he quit just before the premiere, I think. He went on all the trips, but then I don't know, I think he was...
Yeah, on his way out.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he must have felt some pressure too, and I don't know, wasn't really on par with some of the decisions those guys took, like Jeremy and Al, and maybe even Fred sometimes. But yeah, I mean, Pontus is Pontus. He's doing his shit, and that's why people love him.
So that's how you ended up in his video in Strongest of the Strange? Because that came out like a year after, right? Like 2005, I think. Yeah.
And I still think that's, I don't know, I always love watching that video because it reminds me a bit of like the first videos I watched, Yeah, I don't know, he always weaves in like references to old videos, like the music choices from H-Shit videos or whatever, or just little nods, and I don't know, I totally connect to that stuff.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite, I mean, still is one of my favorite videos. The first Pontus film, it was really, really good.
Yeah.
And so, before you were skating for DC, and I think Ben got you on Globe, right? Was it Ben that kind of, not pushed you, but like kind of convinced you to get on the Globe Europe program?
Yeah, I mean, Globe was a bit, I don't know, they had all these bulky shoes and it was
Exactly.
a bit strange. But yeah, I knew Ben from Cliché, obviously, and he got the position of the European TM, and I think, they really wanted to change Globe's image. And yeah, that was around the same time Apple Yard got put on in the US. Okay. So they wanted to recreate the brand in a way, and Ben was the one in charge of doing that job in Europe. And it was cool. It was a cool time. We did some cool travel. Ben really tried to hook it up and make a good change
for the brand.
For the brand, yeah, and that was pretty cool times.
And what about Jart? Because I think that you went to Jart after Cliché, right? I don't know if it was long after.
I was a bit. There was some like a year or two. I went without a board sponsor, and then it was at the time, a friend of Michi Makrotz was team manager at Jart at the time, and he proposed to me, or had like a really good offer for a good
deal.
Yeah, a pretty good deal. They wanted to do a video, they wanted to do tours and stuff. So aesthetically, I was never of the same opinion as the guys at Jart, but it was amazing getting like a ton of boards each month, as many as you want, basically.
Oh, wow, really? Okay.
With each box of boards, I got like a roll of Jessup grip tape, which lasted me till, I don't know, half a year ago, maybe.
Damn.
Yeah, so that was cool. And the guys that do Jart, the brothers, they mean well, they try to do like a good job with their company. And I tried to convince them to aesthetically go into a different direction, or art direction wise, which, I don't know, they didn't really follow, but that's their
decision.
Decision. But it was cool. That video we did was like a fun project. I mean, maybe not artistically the most advanced skate video ever, but it was fun travels, good skating, good people, you know. And plus, we had a kid. Our first daughter was born, right. And so I was happy, you know, like having some additional income at the time, yeah.
So that period of time at Jart lasted until, I think, then what I read was that you unofficially, so to speak, got on Polar in 2012.
Yeah, I mean, when Pontus started Polar, he was trying to convince me to come on, but I was like, I'm not the person you need to start a brand because I'm old and done, more or less. I can't, you know, produce footage for, you know, like a brand that's starting. But he was like, no, you can't stay on Jart. And then he like made this fake ad, kind of Rocco World Industries style. He kind of quit me being on Jart with that ad.
That's funny.
Yeah, he was trying to get me on Polar. I was like flow, whatever, for a while, but I told him like I can't really give you.
You
the
didn't
input.
Want to have that pressure of needing to perform at a pro level or whatever.
I mean, at that point, it wasn't really about pressure. I just told him like I'm not the right person that you need. You know, you need people that produce footage on a regular basis and not just like a random trick here or there. And plus, I didn't want that burden, even if it's just like in the back of your head. But I wanted to enjoy the time that I had for skating with like because at the time I think I was like working. I had started working for Kingpin and had like my second daughter maybe even. But like I didn't have much time to skate, so the time I had I wanted to enjoy and not, you know, worry about getting footage and stuff. So yeah.
And are you still getting Polar gear here and there, or is it kind of done at this point?
They've sent me stuff here or there, yeah. I mean, last thing I got from them was when my daughters kind of begged me to ask for more big boy jeans. And so, but I think if I called them or like send a mail, they would probably send me stuff. But I mean, I don't really, you know, I still have some boards here.
That you can go through.
Yeah. It's going to be like a year or two before I need more products. So.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
At least boards. I mean, other products are open. No kidding. I mean, I'm really aware of that these days. Like, I don't want to spoil my skateboarding experience with the pressure of, you know, putting out or like having to film stuff. If I film stuff, if it happens, that's cool. But I don't want to, you know.
Yeah, you want to just keep it for just the pleasure of skating. I understand. You also had a guest board on Magenta at some point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I met Soy like really long time ago. He probably can't even remember it himself, but I met him like, mid-90s, somewhere like 94 or something, or 95. My friends from my hometown, we did like a bus travel, like with a big bus to Paris, and I think I met him there at La Défense, like skating, like really coincidentally. And also, I think I even met like Leo Vernet, who went on to do Chill magazine later.
That's right. With Nicolas Marinovsky.
Yeah, and those guys. And he was also working for Cliché for a while. I did a lot of freelance shooting for Sugar and stuff. And
okay.
So, like I knew Soy and Vivien from, I don't know, all sorts of traveling. And I would also crash at Vincent Bressol's apartment in Barcelona when I was still skating for Cliché. And Vivien and Soy would stay there crashing at maybe Paul Shire's place or, I don't know, bunch of people that stayed there. Kenny Reed. Yeah, probably Kenny Reed was probably the link. Yeah, anyway, we would hang out there, and I don't know, when it was raining, we played like PlayStation Soccer, Pro Evolution or whatever. And that's where I got to know those guys. And when they started Magenta, they asked me if I wanted to have a guest board, and I was like, yeah, of course, sure. It's like amazing. Yeah, really love what those guys are doing.
So what year would you say that you kind of retired, so to speak, from pro skating? Was it like around that time with that fake Polar ad, or?
Yeah, basically, because that's when like the last contract I had that, you know, where I got money or earned money
from Jart.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I might have had like no, didn't have any other sponsors at the time. Maybe Card still. I don't know. Yeah, probably Card was a little longer. But soon after, I think it was just like they sent me clothing and stuff, but no more money. And yeah, I kind of saw that as like the end of it, like, yeah, towards
2011 or?
A little, yeah, 10, something around that time.
Okay.
Oh no, maybe it was even earlier. Yeah, I think it must have been early because I started at Kingpin 2009, I think. Beginning of 2009. Mm-hmm. And I think a couple of days before, because that was around the time of the financial crisis.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And all companies kind of cut their budgets, and that's when they kind of stopped the Globe thing. And so yeah, that went like kind of from 1 month to the next. All of a sudden I worked for Kingpin, and so that was like kind of really the end of it. I still skated for Jart, but yeah, until, as you said, probably like 10 or 11. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe a year more. But yeah, when Pontus started Polar, that was like my end of official pro skating or whatever.
Having a pro board.
Yeah.
You just talked about Kingpin. I wanted to ask you about that. Like, how did it all start? So you said it was 2009. So you were still pro.
Yeah.
Do you remember what were some of the first pieces that you worked on?
I mean, I had like written a couple of articles for Monster magazine or Place Mag or whatever, like the German magazines here or there. And I knew Niall, who was like the editor-in-chief at the time, from a couple of tours we had done together, like to Israel and Portugal or whatever, like some Cliché tours and some random skate traveling. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I don't know, Kingpin was like 4 languages, so they always had to, like all editors were working on a master edition in English, and then the editors translated that issue into their language.
What were the 4? It was French, English,
yeah, it was
German, Spanish?
Benjamin De Beer was there for France. Then there was Sam Rubio working for doing the Spanish thing, and then there was this guy David Luther who was doing the German one. And I don't know what happened. Maybe he quit, or maybe I don't know. He had some issue with Niall, or I don't know. But anyway, like he was no longer there, so Niall asked me if I wanted to, if I thought I could take on the job and the workload and translating and blah, and also contributing with content. I was like, yeah, sure, and didn't really know what was coming, but told him, I'd do it, and yeah, it was fun, almost 10 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I mean, last couple of years at one point they stopped print, so that was like a
I read that
different
was
challenge.
In 2015 that they stopped the print. Maybe it was later.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe.
not sure.
Yeah, at the end, for a year, I was even editor-in-chief for the online thing.
Right.
But I didn't really feel comfortable doing that because it was like no budget really, and everyone had left to Free magazine to start Free.
Oh, right.
And I was like the only guy left with like another person. And
did they not offer you to go with them at Free, or what happened there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like Sam Rubio and I were like the kind of left out of the equation because they didn't want to do the translation anymore for free. So it was only English.
Okay, I see.
They couldn't really take on such a big load of,
employees or
paying people. So, or even like having like freelance on the payroll. But so our parts, like just contributing articles and stuff, was kind of too much to take on. So. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was totally cool with those guys, but they had to do what they had to do, and it was totally understandable. But yeah, there was no place for us, basically.
Okay.
But before Kingpin was rad for how long it went.
It was a great magazine. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
One. Yeah.
Also, like, working along the sidewalk guys here and there, like.
Ben Powell.
Cool. Yeah, Ben Powell and Ollie Barton that I had met for some Cliché travel along with Ben, and I don't know, it was cool. Really, really cool time. Then later on with Alex Irvine as editor-in-chief was also really fun, and yeah, cool experience. And I don't know, the first things I did, I don't even remember. I mean, I think my first interview I did maybe was of Stefan Günther, maybe, like a really rad skater from Germany.
The name is familiar.
Yeah, he was really, really rad, but he hurt himself on a motorcycle accident, and then he was kind of out of skating for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was definitely a lot of fun.
You mentioned free. I saw that you did recently. There was this part from Patrick Rogalski, Rocco, and you interviewed him for free. So do you still do like interviews here and there or content for free or for other magazines, or was that kind of a one shot?
That was pretty much a one shot because I don't really have the time to do it. I like doing it. I had the offer to interview Bill Strobeck for like a fashion magazine the other day. But I didn't do it because it was really short notice, and I was like, oh man, this would be rad to do, but I would need to, prepare
research
and do some research, and I didn't have the time with all the work the regular job I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, still, I really enjoy like interviewing people or like writing stuff here or there, but it's, it always takes time.
Yeah, for sure.
As you know.
yeah. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. That's great. I wanted to ask you about your current work at Yamato. How do you say in German? Yamato?
Yamato. I mean, it's from Japanese basically, but it's...
Yeah. I figured. But yeah, tell me about transitioning into that. Maybe tell me about first, getting into building spots, because like I'm sure that must have started years before you even got on the company. Like how did you first got interested in building skate obstacles or spots or skate parks eventually?
Yeah, I mean, if you started skating in the late 80s, you started with jump ramps, and I pretty much built the first jump ramp the day I skated, more or less. I mean, exaggerating, but like, I took like a sled I had in my parents' place and took some old, plywood, put it on the sled and jumped off. So that was like the first ramp, and we would always build ramps that would like collapse after 2 or 3 sessions. But yeah, I mean, that was the stuff you did back then.
Mm-hmm.
And then later, like the first skate parks came up, but they were always like so shit. Like in the early 90s when inline skating took off, and like all these companies from outside of skateboarding would build inline skate parks or skate parks, whatever, like modules.
Mm-hmm.
And we would always criticize them and be like, this is so shit, blah, blah, blah. And then I remember one time, like this guy Schützi, who started IOU Ramps, big German skate park manufacturer, but they mainly do wooden stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's still around. He's still like doing pretty well and pretty big company. But he was like, I have to always criticize, at least, be constructive about your criticism and blah, blah. And that's kind of what I took to heart. And then also there was like this guy that was putting together this DC team, Stefan Lehnert, who's like a really good skater from Germany. And he kind of worked together with this guy Schützi in the later 90s to do all the big contest parkours and all the like Munich contest, which was pretty big at the time, and Basel, and they would always design that parkour, and that was like kind of my height of like skating those contests also. And I would always check out the ramps and be like, oh yeah, this could be better, blah, blah, blah. And they would always say like, yeah, at least, be constructive about your criticism. And that's kind of what we took to heart, or at least that kind of planted thinking about ramps more. And then with the concrete stuff, when I went to the Strongest of the Strange premiere, I went to the premiere in Malmö, and that's when they had their first or second DIY spot in Malmö. The story is told in that video, like the Savannah side or whatever it was. And I skated it, and I was like, whoa, this is like so weird to skate and so hard to skate. But it was like fun watching those guys, and really cool challenge to even like scratch the coping, and find,
was that
lines.
The spot by the train? No, it's not the same, right?
No, the train banks thing came a lot later. It was like on this lot where they later built like another DIY spot with a bigger round bowl. Oski had some footage in it, and David, and But before that, they had another spot somewhere else on that property. And and when I came back from that premiere, I was like, need to start that in Berlin, find a place, it sounded really fun. And Lenny and I kind of got really psyched on building stuff, and we started a spot like behind the skate park here, the indoor skate halle.
Oh yeah.
Put a lot of effort into that for a couple of years, like just doing the DIY stuff. Then we started like a second DIY spot in Berlin. And at the same time, friends of ours in Hanover started a DIY spot that's today, I think, one of the biggest DIY spots that are still around. Mm-hmm. And also Lenny and I, from being like sponsored skaters and being into building ramps, like we helped design the indoor park here in Berlin. And Lenny had like a indoor ramp in his barn for as long as he skates. So we were always like into designing, building wooden stuff. But then with that DIY spot, transitioned into concrete stuff more and more. Right. And had some offers to do little jobs and stuff. And those guys from Hanover, our friends, they had started a company out of their DIY spot more or less. And Lenny and I would have our jobs, but we were more still into being sponsored skaters. So we would do all the financial stuff through the company. And so at one point we were like, okay, we should all get together and join forces and make an official new company. And then we were like, oh, should we rename it or should we not rename it? And we ended up sticking to that name. And and in 2016 we united or restarted the brand Yamato with like different people. Those guys were then like fully on like constructions. I was still working for Kingpin and helping out here and there.
Were you helping out with design? Was that like your...
I wasn't at the time. I was only like... Lenny was also already really good at drawing stuff on paper and on like with the 3D programs we used at the time. And I wasn't. I was having like a rough time back then, like getting anything into digital. So I would always just tell him like, do it like this way, or send him like, written or like, little sketches. And he would like do it into digital. Mm-hmm. And but we would also like be hands-on the construction sites. But for me, my main job was Kingpin at the time still, so I was only like on some projects. But yeah, when I saw like Kingpin coming to an end and Yamato growing at the same time, I was like, okay, I'll just
put more energy and time over,
put more energy into that, and learned 3D programs and got more into the design stuff. Then also like all the brand building and website, blah, social media stuff, all that kind of stuff. And then we also started a design company to separate from the building company Yamato. Yamato's officially like a building company, but we were, at the time, design and build was like not really separated. Like a lot of the jobs we got were like, okay, yeah, build a skate park for us, but no plans, no nothing. Mm-hmm. And as time went on, like that got more and more advanced and more like a true architect's work. And so there was like the need of a design firm or to get our ideas into like proper plans and stuff. And our naive idea was, okay, we set up a design firm and then we build the stuff we do with the design firm with the construction firm.
Okay.
But if you work for like official, municipalities, if you do like a tender offer for them, if you set that up and you want to bid on that with the construction company, it can't be with the same people involved,
Oh,
because you're putting your bid on you would know the price before, because all these official jobs, they go with the lowest bidder basically.
Yeah.
And if you know the price in advance, it kind of doesn't work. So we had to separate the companies So Lenny ended up moving to the design firm and I stayed at Yamato, and I'm in charge of all the in-house design stuff. Now Lenny's working for exclusive design stuff that's a little bit more into like architecture. We do skate parks, just skate parks, and they do other stuff too.
Okay.
But with Yamato, we try to do, good skate park designs that are like 100% in-house from, design to execution. Mm-hmm. And that's what I do most of the time. So I'm designing skate parks these days.
So you've been working with them for a while, but like full-time since the end of Kingpin, kind of.
Yeah.
And so you're living in Berlin, but I read that the company was originally based in Hanover, right?
Yeah, the company is still based in Hanover. And before Corona, I used to go there like once a week or once every 2 weeks. I don't know, since the pandemic, I've worked from home most of the time. So, It's good and bad. I've been used to working from home with Kingpin. I've been working from home a lot too. But yeah, it gets lonely here and there. But at the same time, you can, take your own hours and jump outside and go for a skate whenever you want to or whatever you do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's good and bad. But it's definitely still a lot of fun and a cool group of people to work with.
Did you ever consider moving down to Hanover for that job, or were you always kind of, no, like my life is in Berlin, I'm not going to relocate?
My wife has a store here, so that wouldn't be so easy to move somewhere. And my kids wouldn't want to move these days. They're too old, they have their friends here. But
sure.
For a minute I considered, but not seriously.
Okay.
But it's cool to visit, but I still enjoy living in Berlin, so.
Tell me about Yamato, like how many projects have you worked on so far? And most of the projects I've seen were in Germany, but I was wondering if you ever did skatepark construction projects outside of Germany. I think I saw a couple of things in France actually for Adidas.
We had a few projects outside of Germany. Some were like volunteer projects. This thing in Bangalore, India.
For Make Life, Skate Life? Or?
Yeah, exactly. That was like the first Make Life, Skate Life project, I think. And then we did one in Bolivia. I did a few other things like in Costa Rica, but that was like not through the company. That was just volunteer work. Through the company, we did this thing in Paris, like the Charon skate park. But that was pretty much it outside of Germany, or am I forgetting anything? I don't know.
Most of the focus is on Germany.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the further you travel, the more expensive it gets, and you have companies everywhere these days. So it's always like if the further away from home it is, the more likely it is for someone else to be cheaper.
And what would you say is like the specialty of Yamato? Like, what are they best known for? Like, what's their biggest strength as a skate park building company? From all the projects where we have the freedom to, do what we think is cool for the place. Because, that's not the case every time, not with every skate park. Sometimes you just have to build what's in the plans. What they want, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes you don't do the design or something, whatever. But anyway, all the stuff I design with Lenny or with our group of people is usually like we come from like a DIY background, so we try to cramp a lot of stuff into a little place and use all resources we have to make something out of it, and that's what you see, especially with the early parks we did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of like quirky ideas maybe. We always try to think of lines that are maybe not the most obvious, but have something like for a creative skater, like, I don't know, not be too cookie cutter. Mm-hmm. It's probably what everyone says, but at least that's, the objective for each project. I don't know, make it interesting, make it not super obvious, but easy and fun. I don't know. I also like, not lately, but like, I think what I personally always think is cool. Some people think it's stupid for sure. I mean, some of these park builders are like, oh yeah, it needs to be like super gnarly and super big. And I don't know, I always prefer going from the other end, like make it as less gnarly, but still cool and interesting, you know, like, cause it's more inclusive to more people.
All
And
types
for more
of
people to
skaters.
enjoy. I prefer some, because also, which takes us back to my beginnings. I'm like a street skater. I'm from, I grew up skating like ledges and not big transitions and stuff. So
yeah.
any transition bigger than like a meter or something is
Too much.
I don't know. I don't really. I mean, I can skate it, but it's not where I come from.
Mm-hmm,
so most transitions I see as like help for old bones to get up to a ledge, basically. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
So I don't know. I prefer like this flowy but still streety kind of stuff, and that's what I think ends up in a lot of the designs I do.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not like asked by the client or by the locals to go in a different direction. But yeah, that's what I enjoy skating.
I wanted to ask you, that's kind of a side question, but related to Yamato. I was wondering like how sustainable or sustainability in general is, considered at Yamato, like, because as you know, concrete is not a very sustainable product or thing to work with because of like the sand and the cement that you need to make it. Is that something that your customers are asking for alternative, materials that would be considered more sustainable, more green? Is that something that you guys are talking about much these days? It's
definitely an issue. I mean, customers usually don't really have that on their radar much. It's sometimes stuff we bring up. Working with concrete, it's definitely a tough one to, find better solutions. I mean, I think there's some developments going on with like green concrete, but I don't know how much of real green that is or if it's greenwashing. I mean, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, from what I see, what we can do is more like not concreting over like green space,
Yeah.
That's like a bigger leverage, I think, for us to try to renovate existing spaces rather than going somewhere, taking out trees or whatever, or even like just, sealing green space. So that's something we always try to do. Yeah, with green alternatives for concrete, as I said, it's tough. I mean, I could say the concrete used for skate parks is much less than in housing or whatever, but it's definitely still an issue. Mm-hmm. I read something the other day that they're working on like alternatives for sharp sand that can be added to make concrete. But still, I mean, just the energy that's going into producing cement is
by itself,
outrageous.
It's already a lot.
Yeah, that's definitely an issue that we try to think about, but have no solution at the moment. Yeah,
not yet. Yeah.
Like some of the people in the company have tried out like some clay materials, but I don't know if at the moment it's nowhere where you can have a good alternative to have the same attributes as concrete has for skating.
Yeah.
But I mean, what we've been doing here or there is like going on existing old skate park and reusing the asphalt that's there, and just grinding it down to be more smooth and putting in like new ramps and stuff, but it's definitely an issue these days for sure.
What about like your customers? Who usually approaches you for like a skate park project, for example? Is it like a group of skaters? Is it like a city hall? Who usually knocks on your door? And at what point do you kind of, start working on something? I mean, it's different here and there, but it's a lot of the jobs are on the market, and there's like this portal where you can look into cities that basically before that usually it's like skaters that form like a group or go to their mayor and like say, well, we need a skate park, blah blah, or like start a campaign or whatever. And, right. Yeah.
Or maybe it's parents that say our children need a place to skate, or our old skate park is, not up to par anymore. And then sometimes the skaters or the locals contact us and we get in contact with cities. But most of the times it's either cities that contact us direct, like councils, like if they notice, okay, we need a new skate park. They usually need like 3 offers from skate park companies.
Okay.
And the cheapest one usually gets the job, or sometimes it's like they put the tender on this portal and then whoever bids on that.
The fastest, or
Not the fastest, it's usually like a date. Okay, until then you have to,
like submit a proposal.
Exactly. And then, it's different ways. I mean, of course, we try to work with locals as close as we can because they know best what they want and they are the closest to their community and thus can communicate with the council like, okay, we want like a proper skate park company, or we want, even sometimes we want, this company to build our skate park, or even to design it. Sometimes they have something designed by an architect who doesn't, know anything about skate parks, or I don't know, it's different, but it's usually like councils where skaters, locals get active and
try to get a project going
and talk to their politicians and rally to get something built.
Did you see like an increase in the demand for skate parks since the Olympics? I'm just assuming, I don't know, but that maybe more skate parks are being built worldwide to kind of, have places for skaters to practice and become better athletes, so to speak.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of projects in the pipeline or that are like on the market, so to speak. So I mean, councils are aware that skate parks are a good thing to invest in. But I don't know if it's really the Olympics, because Olympic parks are like really big skate parks with really, high
very expensive
level of very expensive, and also like skill wise. First of all, you need like a big footprint of surface. Then the type of ramps or the type of obstacles. In the best case, they're like for beginners to professional.
Right.
But in order to offer that, you need a lot of space. At least in Germany. I think in France it's maybe a bit different, but in Germany, communities don't really do that much. But especially with the pandemic, I think a lot of councils or communities found out that skate parks, maybe even the smaller skate parks or lower level skate parks, are a really good way to activate people, to get people into being outside and lively and
being active.
And that's really a good way of doing
promoting
something
a healthy
for
lifestyle.
Exactly. And I think that's what's pushing more skate park projects most at the moment. And I think at least here in Germany, a lot of councils get budgets or fundings from this pandemic reparation funds or whatever, so I think that's where a lot of the money comes from at the moment.
Okay.
The sportive aspect or the high-end sportive Olympic style, I don't know. I don't really see it that much yet.
Okay. Yeah, that might change in the next few years.
Yeah, we'll see where that goes. I mean, I watched the X Games thing, California X Games or whatever it was the other day. I mean, first of all, amazing skate parkour. Speaking of sustainability, it's a shame that gets torn down straight away.
Yeah.
But the design was pretty sick, I thought. The skating was insane. The event, I think, was a big success, at least, I don't know, from sportive aspects. Or capitalist aspects or whatever. But in Germany, I don't know if that, at least I could see it taking a while for councils to catch up on that and follow that trend. I think in France, I have the impression that's a bit different because, I mean, the Olympics are
they're coming next
France
year.
And plus, I mean, they want to be present, I guess, with French riders. So, I think in Germany, they're not there yet. But we'll see.
So what are some of the projects that you're currently working on? Are you working on skate parks being built in Berlin and elsewhere in Germany? Like what's like on your plate right now?
Unfortunately, not very many projects in Berlin. I mean, we've done a few smaller ones. Then we did like this spring, we did a nice one with another collaboration with Adidas and like the local football club here in the Mellow Park, which is traditionally more like a BMX skate park. And we did a pretty cool project there. But yeah, other than that, not too many projects in Berlin, unfortunately. Yeah, some other stuff, I don't know, we just finished a pretty cool park like near Strasbourg in Saarland. Ton of things, actually. What's the next project that I'm looking for? A little skate park in Cologne that I'm designing right now. That's a pretty cool project. Always stuff. I mean,
a lot of different projects.
A lot of different things to hop back and forth. Yeah.
Okay. That's something I wanted to ask you, I forgot, but like how long does it usually take from like someone knocking on your door with an idea for a skate park until the skateboard actually exists and is accessible to public? Does it take like a year, 2 years, or sometimes longer, faster?
Really different. I mean, most of the projects take like a year, 2 years maybe, from, I don't know, people, pushing politicians and getting funds to skate park opening, and probably rather 2 years. But I mean, some are pretty quick too. Like the one we did this spring was only like, I don't know, 3 months maybe. Oh, wow. Altogether. I don't know, like really, really quick. Yeah, it really depends. But that was like privately funded, so that's always a different story than...
It goes faster that way.
Yeah.
And so we're recording this in August 2023. What do you have planned for the next few months? Like you're working on these different projects, but what else is on your to-do list? And how much do you get to skate also? I see footage of you on Instagram pretty regularly, but like how often do you get to skate usually?
Well, I wish I would skate more. I don't know. I went skating yesterday, but I only like a little bit of flat ground.
Okay.
I don't know. As I said, I'm just back from vacation and I went bike riding and I slammed on the bike and cut my shin open. So it's still like a bit unstable. So I can't really, I skated with like a football shin pad yesterday. I have to be careful with that. So otherwise it will pop open again because I would have needed stitches, but
oh, you didn't get stitches? Okay.
I didn't get stitches. I just got like the little, Band-Aid.
That's working out so far?
We'll see.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. I wish I would skate more. I'm a bit, I don't know, sometimes not super motivated to skate here these days. It's a bit of like a lack of crew. I mean, there's a ton of people skating here, but it's, I don't know, the spots that are near, I've seen them maybe too much. And for other spots, it's not enough time usually. And
to go all the way there, yeah.
And then, like 1 minute from my house, there's a really cool ping pong scene going on. So I play a lot of ping pong there.
So you're debating, should I go skate or like
go because it's always easy to go ping pong. With skating, it's like a bit more effort. And as I said, sometimes I'm getting pretty lazy. So yeah, ping pong is another chunk of time that's not used skating. Yeah, and then this bike, I just got a road bike for a holiday. That was so much fun. So I'm gonna do some more bike riding too. So
how long do you usually bike ride for? Do you do like super long distances?
Not at all. I haven't really done any tours. I just started like in Italy where I was because the landscape there is like so nice just to go through the olive hills,
Yeah.
And
were you with your family or were you?
Yeah, I was with my family, but they were into hanging out at the beach or by the pool, and I was like, oh man, I need to do something. There was no ping pong, no skate spots. We went to the same place the year before, and I rented a bike and just went, and it was super fun. I plan on doing that a bit more, but definitely still skating a bunch. Yeah, in order to skate well, I have to, be in the right mindset. And it's not as easy as jumping on the bike or grabbing the ping pong pedal.
Yeah. So before we do the friends questions, I usually wrap up my interviews with the same question with every guest. And it's kind of this cheesy question, but that can provide some sometimes interesting answers. So it's just basically, what's the most valuable lesson that skateboarding has taught you?
I mean, maybe not taught me, but it's a gift I got from skating is, I don't know, just being able to stay within skateboarding, but with so many different outlets or so many ways of working in it or being in it or, you know, I
there's a lot of different avenues that you can
exactly.
explore with skateboarding. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's a cool way of being creative in that sense. I mean, not creative as maybe, I don't know, an artist painting or whatever, but like just kind of leading a lifelong learning experience, you know? And I mean, that's something I still also try to do when I go out and skate. I don't know, like I always try to find something new that I want to learn that session or that day, not necessarily like a new trick, but like at least a new line or a new approach to an older trick or always trying to find something new, and I think that's what keeps it exciting. And I try to, and I think that maybe that's the thing that led me to adopt this state of mind to most of the things I do in life. Maybe I mean, I'm really like autodidactic. I mean, I finished school, but after like I didn't finish university.
What did you study when you were at university?
English and physical education or sports.
Okay.
Yeah, but I never finished that. But
but you were self-taught, like everything you do today at Yamato,
pretty
being
much,
a designer
and I mean,
and everything, you were self-taught.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays people go to skate class, and I think that works well for a bunch of people. But for me, I always thought it's genuinely autodidactive activity.
Yeah.
I mean, at least from my point of view. And
that's how you learned doing it,
Yeah, just, as a spectator first, and you observe and you try to, find the essence of what the people you observe are doing and adopt that to what you want to do. And I think that's probably what skateboarding taught me.
Okay.
to go back to your question.
Well, let's wrap up with the friends question. So, okay, let's do this very first one.
Hey, Jan. I was just wondering, when you rode for Cliché, do you have any fond memories of your favorite trip you had with Jeremy and all the guys?
That was Will Harmon from
fuck. Yeah, favorite trip, I don't know. I mean, as I said, the Greece trip was pretty memorable because, it was the first trip with Fred on board and everybody was amped, and there was some amazing skating going on, and I don't know, I think it's probably been maybe Kale Noski's first trip with the team too. And
he had the first part in Bon Appétit, right?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Also, the Australia trip was cool just because it was, I don't know, Australia is like the furthest you can go basically.
Yeah.
And some insane skating also going on. The Asia trip we did was pretty sick too, just because, we went to Japan, and Japan is such an amazing country. Always wanted to go back ever since, but I never managed to. Yeah, really rad country. I mean, not that I know much about it, but I think it was like kind of a long trip, maybe like 3 weeks, maybe more even.
Okay.
Yeah, that was super rad. Like we went to Japan and Taiwan and Hong Kong. And I think that was around the first SARS epidemic. And I remember we were making fun of the mouth covers, like
the masks? Yeah.
The masks, because it was really a big thing over there. And like here, it was like nobody was really taking it serious. Yeah. So, those were cool.
That's the question for me, but like who on the Cliché team like impressed you the most seeing him skating in person?
Well, I mean, Lucas
was
fucking amazing.
And you
to
saw
watch.
him he was very young, right? When he got
I mean, I think he won like the teenage tour thing, like the contest thing in France.
Yeah.
And I think he was even flow for Cliché before, but that's when he first went with us. Maybe, I don't know, he was like 14 or something. So really young still, but I mean, it was amazing watching him, mature and...
become like who he is today. It's pretty impressive,
Yeah.
Anybody else that comes to mind,
I mean, on one of those globe trips we did with Ben, there was Gustav Tönnissen.
Oh, wow, really?
That's like a really young skater, and even back then he was amazing.
He's
and like
he's
these
incredible.
days, it's like one of the best people to watch skate.
Yeah, he's a magician.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those stand out for me. I mean, ton of other people that were rad, watching, but yeah.
Let's do the next one. So I have a couple questions from Michi Makrat. The first one is, tell us about this session in Shanghai on the flat bar with Castleberry, Adam Sell, and how did you like that Kenya trip?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing...
The Shanghai flat bar
Shanghai
session?
on that flat bar, I mean, there was like a trip we took, like Michi, Adam Sello, who was like a friend of us that did this Anzeige Berlin zine for quite a while, like a really good photographer, and he had done like a pretty sick Berlin video before Panorama. That Willow, I don't know if you know this guy, German skater, used to ride for Almost. And
right, yeah, Willow, of course.
Like he had like his big first part in that video. So yeah, like Adam, Michi, a couple other friends went to Shanghai together.
What year was that? Do you remember?
I think like 2006 or something, maybe.
Okay.
Something around that time. I think my daughter was already born. Yeah, must have been around that time. Yeah, because I mean, footage is in the Jart video, some of it.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it was amazing. There was like a ton of spots that were all untouched, like everything perfect marble. Yeah, amazing. Really difficult to get around because no one spoke English. It was hard to even tell people where you wanted to go. Like you could take a cab for like super cheap, but to get the person that was driving the cab to understand where you wanted to go was really difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know, we ended up like having someone write out the places in Mandarin to show it to the people, but then we found out some of them couldn't even read like the
Oh shit.
Yeah, but long story. We found this spot that's like a stair rail kind of thing, like a bar that's going straight but downstairs. So it's like a first thing straight, then a little bit lower straight, and then another one lower straight. So it's like a gap to straight bar, more or less. And started skating it, and all of a sudden, like from not really seeing any other skaters the whole trip, Castleberry and like the Crux team showed up.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So we ended up skating the spot together, and it was pretty amazing. And so Michi and I were already skating, and then Caswell joined, I think, and we ended up like skating the thing, like the three of us, and everyone got a trick, and yeah, it was pretty epic. Pretty nice session.
Is it that spot that, maybe I'm mistaken, but in that Jart part, you do a front board to fakie?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that spot? Okay,
all.
okay.
Yeah.
And the other question he had was like about the Kenya trip.
Oh,
that was not too long ago, right?
That was not too long ago.
That
was like, I don't know, 18 or 19. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have much time to skate at the time, but Michi had, he's always traveling, and he'd been going to Africa a bunch, and he'd shown me like this, I don't know, West Africa footage, like with really sick spots, and he was like, yeah, come on, I'm going to Kenya, do you want to join? And it's going to be nice. There's going to be some spots you can, get away from the boring Berlin spots. It'll be fun, blah, blah. And I don't know, it ended up being like so few things to skate. Really, really difficult to even find a place to, do some flat ground.
Oh, yeah.
And my motivation to go was to skate spots that I hadn't skated and really enjoy skating and not, battling for like a kickflip on flat ground or whatever. And yeah, so that was basically the story for that. But it was cool. I mean, we met some really cool locals there, and
you got some good footage. I mean, the video looks cool.
I mean, Michi sent me the link to like the director's cut Guillaume did, and it's so fucking amazing what Michi delivers on those kind of trips under those circumstances. Yeah, I mean, he's fucking mental.
Yeah, he's a special skater. Like, he's very productive, super,
so talented with what he does.
For sure.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, as I said, I struggled getting anything done.
Well, you had some good footage. I mean, you did like the tray flip over that
I did that tray flip, which was probably one of the better tray flips I did in my life. But so I was stoked for that. But I truly did not skate very much more than what's captured or what went into that video. So I was kind of hoping on, reliving my childhood skate rat days and, skating all day, every day on some new spots. And it was kind of the opposite. I was skating less than at home, and everything was super hard to, even find like a piece of flat ground was hard.
Yeah, I'm sure. You skate that spot together it's like by a road, and you do like, I think, a nose pick and maybe a shove it, 5-0 shove it thing.
Almost killed myself getting almost run over.
I wanted to ask you about that because you got your head like knocked by a car or something. But that must have been super sketchy. Like you could have
shows how desperate we were to find
spots.
Anything.
For sure. That video turned out great, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I said, man, so much respect for the skating Michi does. It's really unique.
Yeah, and Guillaume Perimoni's videos also are always super well edited and everything. Yeah, they're a really great duo.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so let's do this next one.
Hey Jan, wie geht's mein Freund? You can do the game of guessing who I am. It could be fun putting you on the spot. So my question is, what keeps you inspired when you design skate parks, when you build skate parks? How do you make them different? What is your source of inspiration? Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so that's Julian, right?
Yes, Julian Dijkmans.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of touched on it before. I always want to make it special, inclusive, not cookie cutter, and new for me as well as for the people that skate it, or the locals that will mainly use it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's always different circumstances or different parameters, but that's mainly it. Just keeping it somehow fresh for myself and for the people that will use it. And I mean, it's not reinventing the wheel most of the time, but it's I don't know. As I said, with skate tricks and stuff, could be just finding like a different approach to something small that could make a difference, or that could make it interesting or inspiring. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's one part why I was stoked on that X Games parkour.
Oh, right.
But it was, I mean, those tend to be a bit like geared towards big impact, standardized skating. Yep. But it was still within those boundaries. It was pretty creative.
All right, so this next one is from, I'm going to butcher his name, and I'm very sorry, but it's Gernot Kinast. Is that how you say his name?
That's funny. I haven't spoken to him in ages.
So he told me, I think we met back in the Carhartt days. Ask Jan about one of the most underrated skaters in Europe, Andreas Poberer. Is that how you say his name?
Andreas Poberer. He's this guy from Linz in Austria, same town Steve Forstner's from.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And he used to skate for like this clothing brand that my friend here in Berlin that got me to come to Berlin started. Mm-hmm. He used to skate for that, and he also used to skate for DC, the German-speaking DC team, and also like this board brand we started just before I got on Cliché, which was called Popular. Mm-hmm. But it's so like twice as much pop as everyone around, and could jump on stuff on ledges that were like twice as high as the ones everyone else was skating. It was always skating super fast and with a lot of power, and really inspired by East Coast type of skating, like Eastern Exposure, Ricky Viola style skating, but a bit more technical maybe.
Okay.
And it was really nice, like skating with him, always like super nice, mellow dude. But I don't know, his skating got cut short a bit because he fucked his knee at one point and got surgery, but the surgery didn't go well or something, or he had some problems after surgery. And today I think he can skate a little bit, but always like just for short sessions, and never really got back to how he was. But still, I mean, like a really cool person, and we did some travel together with that DC team, and that was cool. Amazing dude.
All right, this next one is from, we mentioned him earlier, Benjamin Debert from Kingpin and Sugar before that, famous French photographer. So he said, Dear Jan, you hold the title to the biggest print publication photo ever, and most likely will never be dethroned due to the death of print media. Care to explain where and how you managed such a feat?
Yeah, I once had a picture in Times of India, still have it somewhere. We did this Kingpin tour to India with Benjamin, who organized it, and who was there? Soy, Vivian, Kenny Reed, Michi, and who else? Like a friend of Kenny's, like a US guy. I don't know why he was there, but he came along, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, anyway, we went to India to pretty much follow Soy's roots, because Soy's dad is from India and his parents have a house there. And so we went to Delhi first and I don't know, then ventured to Lucknow where Soy's parents have their house. But anyway, like we were pretty much one of the first sessions, we found like a wall ride kind of thing, or basically a wall with some dirt to it that kind of resembled a bank, but it's okay. I think it was more dirt than like a proper bank. But we started skating it, and I did some wall rides, and more people gathered, and then all of a sudden like a photographer showed up and started taking pictures of us, and next thing we know was like a couple of days later it was like an article in the Times of India, foreigners skating daily roads or whatever the headline was. Anyway, it was like picture was like a little text underneath, and I don't know how big the print is, but I mean must be a ton, because it's sold everywhere in India, and
it's a big country,
one of the biggest populations in the world.
So you're a huge star in India.
That was a cool trip.
Okay, I have another audio one. Let's see.
Hi Jan, salut mec, wie geht's, Alter? I hope you're fine. I have a few questions. I couldn't make the choice, so you can choose one, but you'd better answer each one. First one would be, do you think it would have been possible to survive in the Cliché van or during the Cliché trips without being able to speak or understand a word of French? Second question would be, speaking of style, I've always been a big fan of your style. I was wondering if you think there's a relation between style and personality. And I think for you that really makes the point between your nice and smooth personality and the way you skate. And the last question would be, if I tell you the expression or words, clever attack, what do you think that means? Is it something that remind you memories, or you don't remember any of this? I hope you're doing good. I see you skate sometime on the social networks, and it's still a pleasure to see you skate. Your style hasn't changed. Keep it like this. Bye-bye.
Well, it's nice to hear. Yeah, it's Ben Deren, and I just saw him selling his planted vegetables on the market on social media the other day.
That's right. Yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, question one was
speaking French as a useful.
I could speak a bit of French, so for me that was not so much the case. I mean, I think Pontus sometimes really struggled because he was, I don't know if he understood French, but probably not. And he got some shit for it, definitely. I mean, I had French in school. In school I could never, I don't know, maybe it was my teachers, but in school I sucked, but I kind of laid like a base for or a foundation for at least communicating, and I think I kind of, got better.
Picked up on it
and
when you were in France.
Yeah. And so I always enjoyed it, and as I said, for some other it could have been hard. Like, I mean, with all the Frenchies, and especially like with the kids like Lucas and Charles and those guys, it was sometimes harder. But I don't know. I mean, obviously Pontus survived too, but
but he quit.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that was part of the reason. I don't know, but still, a lot of fond memories. What was the next thing? Style? I don't know. I mean,
style and personality
is what it is, I think. I don't know. I don't really think about it much. I skate the way I skate. I enjoy skating the way I skate, and that's really it.
You don't overthink it, like
no.
Your posture, like how you...
I mean, I look at skate tricks and I kind of think about how I want to do it, and then I want to do it that way and not another way. I kind of analyze like, okay, that's the movement I want to get because I imagine that feeling cool, or I imagine that being the way I envision a trick should be done.
Yeah.
And then I want to execute it that way, and if I can't get it, I probably leave it or
move on to another
one. Exactly. Yeah. Or work on it until I get it. But it's more like a choice rather than, I don't know, some external trying. It's more like a feeling thing than chasing a look
like
or
an
whatever.
aesthetic, the way it looks on camera or something. Yeah.
And the cleaver attack thing, I don't know, maybe it's from, I don't know. I think the way I skate, I sometimes have a hard time trying stuff. I either do it or not do it. So, and sometimes it's like it's been a big challenge of, finding that first try or getting over like a first try to, something
Unlock
new or something bigger
kind of.
and, going over that block. And I think once I got there, I was always pretty quick in doing, or most of the time pretty quick in doing my tricks. And I think that's probably what he refers to. Because,
okay.
It's I think it has a lot to do with like if you can envision a trick or have it in your mind like completely laid out, you're more or less capable to do it. Sometimes you just have to overcome the fear and
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was never good at throwing my board at stuff and just simulating stuff to get closer and closer and closer. And if it was like big tricks, that gap, from doing something right away because you have it, or the gap outside of the comfort zone gets bigger and bigger and bigger, to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
Or overcoming that step gets harder and harder. And that's probably why I was never, I don't know, really good at giant spots or...
like huge stair sets or rails or...
Yeah, I skated some rails and like it's kind of easy when you practice it on small rails and then work your way up. And then when you're really good at that routine, you can, apply it to a bigger spot fairly easy because most of the tricks itself are, I would say, easier than like on a ledge or something, like on a street spot usually, or like, rails are street spots too, but like usually to get something on a ledge, you have to be more precise than just going fast and jumping down onto a rail or something.
Yeah.
But the fear factor is much bigger. And
of course.
And maybe that's something he referred to because I sometimes or a lot of times had to battle that. And once I did, I was like, okay.
Yeah, super focused and got the trick pretty fast. Okay.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't battle for hours for a specific trick?
No, not really.
Okay.
It happened sometimes, but it was...
But it wasn't like the norm. Okay.
Yeah. For example, there was this switch 5-0 I do on a rail in Paris in
the Bon Appétit part, right?
In Bon Appétit.
Yeah, I live very close to that. I'm like a 10-minute walk from there, yeah.
Yeah, I think I struggled with even attempting for more than an hour probably without jumping on it once. And then I did it in 2 tries or something, or 3 tries. But like that first try was like so hard to...
Yeah, the hardest to get done.
Overcome. Because I could never get myself to simulate, like to just feel it out. Because I always, like in my mind, I would always have to go all in. But, jumping into the cold water, going all in on something that's so new is like a much bigger leap than...
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is from Bertrand Cliché.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, football/soccer or cycling. And he added, Jan has loved soccer since ever, but has been progressively picking up cycling. And we did mention cycling earlier.
Yeah, football is like, I guess, most kids from Europe, especially our generations, or maybe at least half of the kids or boys from our generation more, first love is football, right?
Right.
And I was super into football as a kid, but found skating and was really turned off from football at like, I don't know, 13, 14 due to like, you know, going to football or having a coach and practice, blah, blah. And I don't know, I kind of got back into it or into, playing a bit, I don't know, mid-20s, late 20s. And then, I don't know, I still do play here or there. Like, I don't know, we're in this like senior, we have this thing like once a week, but I don't go every week. And we don't do like competition. It's just we're in the club to, you know, get the field, get like 2 hours a week on the pitch. Always fun, but I get hurt playing football more than skating. Plus, I'd never really train or run or whatever, so I'm always sore for at least like a day or two, or maybe 3 sometimes. So I told you there's ping pong, there's riding the bike, then
you have to
football.
be strategic with what you pick. For sure.
I have to choose my battles.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not battles. Don't want to have battles. I just want, you know, like my activities. And I don't know. I enjoy it every now and then, but it's been getting a bit less. But I still love watching football. I could just stand next to like a pitch watching some kids play, or just meditative.
So you still enjoy it very much, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not like religiously, but whenever I get the opportunity, I rather watch than not. And cycling, I could see myself get more into cycling. I was always like, that's something I have all my life for.
Yeah, for sure.
But I've been following some races here and there. I couldn't see myself race, but like doing more riding and more, I don't know, as I said, I could see myself doing like some skate/bike tour thing. And as I said, riding in Italy, going up and down like the mountains was so much fun. I could see myself doing that more, for sure.
All right, so this next one is from Niall Neeson.
Oh, sick.
So he said, was Bon Appétit the highest point of European skate culture?
The highest point? I don't know. I wouldn't say so. I mean...
It was a pivotal moment for sure, but...
Yeah, maybe pivotal moment, but the highest point, no, I don't agree. I mean, there's so many amazing things coming out of Europe, and people do so much amazing stuff, and I don't know, amazing other brands that emerged, and amazing skaters, and I don't know.
It was an important video because, as you said, like Fred had just done the 2 previous like big videos, and Cliché was the brand in Europe, and so I guess in that sense it was like a highly anticipated video, great team, very creative, a lot of amazing skating, and it was like probably the first video of that weight from Europe. It was like a very strong challenger for American brands. Europa was the first one, but I don't think it was as big as Bon Appétit, the impact it had, like especially in the US.
No, I agree, but still, I think there's a ton of other, you know, I mean, just, you know, Polar or Palace, or I mean...
That came later, but yeah, for sure.
Sour, you know, like there's so many other amazing things, or Poetic, or Magenta, or there's so many other cool things that came out of Europe.
Yeah.
So I would say it's like the best thing.
The highest point.
Or the highest point. That's a bit much.
Okay, I have a last audio one.
Hey Jan, what's up? Can you tell us a little bit about your experience of trains in India? Maybe the precision of timetables compared to Germany?
I mean, I heard it was soy, but I couldn't really understand what he said.
He said, what was your experience of trains in India?
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, we went on these overnight trains, and it was pretty amazing. Actually, I did a couple of overnight train tours with Vivian and Soy and Michi and those guys. We went to Budapest also, and I don't know where else. But I mean, that was crazy. I mean, like super packed train stations. Like, I don't think I'd ever seen so many people in one place. And then half of those people even got on our train. You know, the train was like
packed.
Mega packed, people hanging outside outside, sitting on the roof, and
Yeah,
blah, blah. That was when we went from Delhi to Lucknow. And on the way back, the train was supposed to start in Lucknow and take us back to Delhi. So it was starting there, and it was a day or so late from the start. Like we arrived at maybe an hour or so before the train was supposed to go, and then they told us, no, the train is not here, it's tomorrow, you know.
Wow.
And there was like cows eating trash in the train station from the rails. Yeah, it was pretty mental, but still fun and good times. Really, really nice chai tea in the trains that was served. Yeah, amazing experience.
This next one is from Johannes Schön. He's like one of the founders of Pocket Skate Mag.
Yeah.
So he said, was it a conscious decision to keep working on things related to skateboarding? What would you do these days if you would have chosen a career path outside of skating?
No, it's a tough one. I mean, it's partially conscious decision and partially ways of water, so to speak. You know, you go with the flow or go where you have the least resistance, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty philosophical thing. I mean, like, you can always look at it from different, you know, angles.
Sure.
It's either destiny, or it's using the best of your experience, or it's being afraid to leave your comfort zone for something new, or limiting yourself to one spectrum of what you're capable of, or I don't know. I mean, I really couldn't say.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, I'm really, really comfortable and happy and thankful for where I'm at, and really enjoy where I landed myself.
Yeah, where skateboarding brought you.
Yeah.
This next one, so this guy's, I found him on Instagram, and he's a friend. I'm not sure if he works with you at Yamato. I think his name is Valerie, at Valrose on Instagram.
Valerie Rosemarco. No, he's a local from Berlin.
Right. Okay, so Berlin local. So he said, hey Jan, back in the days, I got to know your name through Monster Skateboarding magazine. By now, I'm grateful to have you as a friend and reliable skate companion. On one of your interview portraits by Helge Chalm, you are pictured with a little stream of blood coming out of your nose. Just curious how this came about.
That's a question I'm asking myself too. Yeah, Helge Chalm was this really influential photographer from Germany who used to do 99.9% of the photos that went into Monster magazine for, I don't know, 1.5 decades, I would say, maybe more.
Okay.
Yeah, he was like kind of the gateway to magazines, or Monster magazine, but that was the only magazine at the time. A little later, Limited magazine started too, but at the time, Monster was like the only magazine. And if he was like keen on shooting people, that meant they would get into the magazine and they were good at skating, basically. With Helge, like he was like a maniac. Like he lived in Cologne, and he would always take his car and drive to somewhere, and then take like a couple of guys, or just one guy maybe, and shoot with those guys, and then probably drive back or drive somewhere else. He would always be on the road, like crazy shooting missions. And but he would also push people in a really good way. So he was like, if he was in town, you were like, okay, today it's on, you know, I have to
step up my game.
I have to step it up and think of stuff beforehand, because you would, of course, back then you would always, you know, make plans a couple of days or weeks in advance, and find spots to go to with him, and then make it happen when he was there.
Mm-hmm.
So that photo Valle is referring to is like, I think, from my second Monster interview, and it was basically just, hey, come on, I have this crazy idea, blah, blah, we're gonna shoot this portrait, blah blah. I think the interview was done and we only needed a portrait.
Okay.
To this day, I still don't know what he had in mind with that photo. I mean,
okay.
I think it was when the Hasselblad, the medium format cameras, were pretty new, and he was keen on using it or trying it out in studio environment, and he dragged me in some studio and shot this photo. I don't know. And I just went along with it.
Mm-hmm.
No cocaine,
Overdose?
stories, no big slams, no...
Not a gnarly story behind it? Yeah.
No story behind it, no fake blood, and Helge's idea. You would have to ask him. Would be interesting to know. But yeah, he shot like around the same time Florentin Manfin had an interview, and he shot him with like a Napoleon costume, and
Okay.
that was a bit more funny at least.
Okay, I have two last ones. This one is from John Dahlquist from Bryggeriet High School in Malmö. So he said, I'm a big fan of skaters over 40 who keep skating. Jan's trick selection has always been sick to me with good basics like a solid noseblunt slide. I wonder if progression is still something he thrives for, or is it more about keeping what he has? And also, what does he do to keep skating so good, both mentally to keep motivated, but also physically?
I mean, those two kind of go hand in hand. I mean, of course, I try to progress my skating. Otherwise, it would be a bit boring, or I don't know, like to just maintain what was once there. You could never win that battle, you know? So it's more setting or adjusting what you see as progress or what progress means to you. And at the same time, that's what's keeping it interesting and fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just setting yourself goals, as I said, even if it's just a different line to the same trick or a different, line through the park for the same trick that you'd never taken before, or if it's, I don't know, this could be really small, minor things, but that could be challenges. Yeah, that's what's keeping it interesting for me.
And what about like things that you do to keep in shape to skate? Like you mentioned the other sports that you do, like ping pong, like cycling, a little bit of soccer as well. Do you do other stuff like, I don't know, like yoga or like...
Well, I tried yoga in like one of the lockdowns, and it's cool, but it's not something I could maintain. I don't know, it's not fun enough for me, at least. Plus, I'm too stiff to probably get over the hump and get into the groove of making a habit out of it.
Okay.
I don't know. I do all these other things, I think, to stay fit to skate too, but that's not like a conscious thing. It's more like if I would skate every day, I probably could, but it wouldn't be fun.
Yeah.
If I skate too much, I don't have the freshness of the body and not the freshness of the mind. And if I only skate maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks and not do anything else, I would be totally out of shape.
Yeah.
And so everything else I do might take away time I could spend skating, but it doesn't necessarily take away quality time skating, you know what I mean? I basically feel like I need to be somewhat active more or less every day. I mean, I sit way too much time in front of the computer these days, but I still try to be active some way or another. And if I don't get that activity, I don't know, I don't really feel right.
Sure. I see what you mean.
And I wish I would skate a bit more, and I'm thriving to do that. Now I have this fucking hole in my shin, but also promised Valle I would hit him up because his girlfriend is gone this week, and now I'm sitting here designing skate parks and doing podcasts.
Yeah, you have a good excuse for tonight.
But all in all, I think just being active in general is a good way to go. And then once you skate, I don't know, I try to enjoy all the time. That's kind of also a reason I don't really go street skate too much anymore, because I find if you don't have that much time for skating in general, it's harder and harder, because a lot of the time you spend street skating is like not time spent on the board, but rather looking for spots or driving to spots or I don't know. These days I usually go to a skate park and then I skate for, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours and don't stop. Once I stop, I'm kind of done.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it for sure. If you go street skating, it's a whole different ordeal. Yeah,
it's fun, but you need a lot of more net time,
Yeah, exactly. Okay, this is the very last one from Mark Nichols. So he said, Jan, Lenny Burmeister and Michi Makrot were three of the powerhouses of Berlin skating when I moved here. The hours I spent with them together on and off the board in the city was absolutely amazing. How has their long-term friendship influenced one another in their skating? They could skate everything and anything.
I mean, I've met Lenny really early on in my skating, and we've always been pretty close since, and he's one of my best friends. And I think, I don't know, around 12 or 13 maybe. As I mentioned, we went to Hamburg a lot, and on the train, like the 4-hour ride one way and then back, and that each day more or less. And that would be for all of the skaters in Niedersachsen, in the state of Germany, like northern Germany, basically. Göttingen is like at one end of the railroad, and Hamburg was on the other end. So we traveled the whole distance, and Lenny kind of lived like halfway and would always join the train. And we would all go to that skate park, the indoor skate park in Hamburg, and that's where I got to know him. And then we traveled to his barn that he already had back then, and there was like actual pros in Hamburg at the time, like Jan Waage was one of the guys who used to be pro for Paul Peralta back then.
Okay.
And like European champ at one point, I think 89 or something. And so, yeah, that was always like a big thing traveling to Hamburg. So Lenny was, like a really big influence early on, and we really went like a long way pretty much together, and kind of still do. I mean, he's now working for a different company, but we still do more or less the same thing. We don't speak to each other as much anymore as we used to when we were in the same company, but we see each other a lot, or not see, but like we talk a lot. And I wish we would skate together more, but his son is ripping these days.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, that's like the next chapter then. But it's always been really fruitful, as you say, skating and just being around those two, basically, Lenny and Michi also.
Yeah.
Michi moved to Berlin, I don't know. I got to know him in Berlin, and still a long time, but not as long. But I was traveling more with Michi, I would say, than I was with Lenny. So we have some pretty cool road stories. And Lenny moved from Berlin a couple of years ago. So these days, I don't really skate with Michi because he's always gone or hurt, or I don't skate, or I'm sitting in front of the computer. But even though he doesn't even live that far away, but it's a shame actually. But yeah, I mean, those two are amazing to have in my life, skating and also as friends.
Yeah, well, let's wrap it up here. Thank you so much, Jan.
Yeah, no worries.
This was really nice.
That was fun. Thanks for having me.
That's it for my conversation with Jan. Follow him on Instagram at CHORINERSTR667. Go check out some of Jan's video parts that we talked about, particularly in Bon Appétit and The Strongest of the Strange. Follow at Yamato Living Ramps and go check out their website yamatoramps.de to check out some of the numerous skate parks they've built throughout the years. Thank you for tuning in. See you soon for a new episode of Beyond Boards.